wins. All those things, a website, so forth, it's really considered cost of entry these days. People are going to Google your brand's name. Something like 90% of the initial brand contacts happen via a search engine. So you maybe used to be about this simple kit of parts. Here's a media matrix. This is from 99 for McDonald's. And this is telling McDonald's franchisees where they use these different kit of parts. This was their brand. So you got the McDonald's logo, you got the Lock Up with Ron, you got the Happy Meal, you got the, it looks like McDonald's skateboard here on the end, and over here is like everything from swag to packaging to print to television, where it goes. So this is media usage, how that goes out. What's missing from this is any thoughtfulness about the interactivity of the brand. And really, McDonald's is kind of more or less based on that, although their advertisers, which includes a sister company of mine, are fully 100% there and realizing it. This isn't their problem. Their logo and where it's placed, that's not the issue. Here's a look at McDonald's. Everyone knows about advertising being put into first-person shooters. I'm not going to talk about that axe ad because it's very upsetting, but I'm loving it in the over left-hand corner while this guy is fragging the hell out of the room, I think is quite an interesting juxtaposition. I'm not sure how the interactivity of this game in any way applies to McDonald's or why they'd be in that space. Maybe a better fit for the space would be Metalocalypse, if you're familiar. In fact, that reminds me of another company, Gibson, who has got a great history of making guitars. And they have kind of thoughtfully taken that history, a guitar being a awesome piece of interactive pre-web, and yeah, this is an Xbox controller version of the same guitar, so pretty smart. That's a better place for that brand to exist. They're thoughtful about how they're engaging the world of the web, casual games, etc. with their brand. Getting back to McDonald's though, that guy in the Ford truck, that guy is interacting with the McDonald's brand right now. The brand experience of McDonald's is not, again, about the logo. It's about the drive-thru and whether or not they get your order right, rob you of fries, whatever it might be. McDonald's is doing great. Their numbers are going through the roof, as happens in these kind of economic ambiance, but they still haven't really figured out that the drive-thru experience isn't all that great. Why can't they get a speaker where I can hear the guy? You can all hear me, right? Why is the drive-thru door? It's awful, and you never get what you want. And I think that they should spend some time thinking about interactive menuing, getting your order correct, and even the way that they train their people at the window, and thinking less about where the McDonald's skateboard lockup fits into their media materials. A quick word about our senses. Again, branding used to all be really about visual. So we've got all these different senses. We seldom kind of think beyond them. We know if we put them all together, we've got very rich experiences, rich interaction, but it mostly tends to be about visual. It mostly tends to be about what we see because our visual sense extends the furthest, and again, hence the rise of graphic design. If we go beyond that to this day and age and we think about everything from equilibrium to how we sense things like temperature, to even things like proprioception, the kinesthetic sense. Then we can consider designs that are not just human-centric, haptically correct, whatever you want to call it, but they're really more immersive. And you're going to need more than a mouse to do this, but if we can think about interaction on a human level as engaging more than just our fingers and our eyes and maybe our ears, then I think we're going to have more effective, more profound experiences. And that goes for just about any brand out there. Pick up a pen, go sit in the sunshine, feel the wind in your hair. That's human interaction. Everything else is just some kind of poor facsimile today. And so if we think about Moore's Law, we think about the experiences technology is enabling, I think that 20 or 30 years from now, we're going to be getting into things like equilibrium, etc. Low cognitive load. I use the pencil as an example because a lot of times when we're doing design, we're speaking with a client, they're like, oh, add in another widget, pack some more crap in there. If you use a pencil, I'm sure you've all been through this, pencil's a pretty interesting tool. It's got, you can write with it, you can actually erase with it, you can do other things like stick it in your ear. No, you can, it's very mobile, and I've never seen a pencil that had an instruction manual or online user education. A pencil is very easy to understand and use, maybe because of our early exposure, but even if you put one, or call it a crayon, in the hands of a kid, they instantly know how to use that and what it's for. On the other end of the extreme, in a former life I flew these, and helicopters are really, really hard to fly. They have a lot of switches and knobs, both your hands are super busy. I'm pretty sure that if you hadn't done it, it'd be really hard outside of the movies to jump in one and successfully not kill yourself and everyone in it. High cognitive load on that end. And unfortunately, a lot of the way that we're using technology is still towards this end of the continuum. Maybe designed by and for developers, maybe a client that thinks they need the latest widget on board or crammed into their web page, but people generally, even my grandmother, they don't like this, but even the kid that likes, you know, fast shoot 'em up games, and we think this new generation is gonna all be about technology, deep down, we're still that tool using ape, and we still want low cognitive load tools. The pump of interactivity, I love this. Brands start out with perception. That could be ambient. We're bombarded every day with something like 10 hours of messaging. I don't know what the numbers are, but when you think about like turning on the radio in the morning, from when your alarm goes off until you get home at night, all the billboards, all the newspaper ads, all the stuff you've heard, the television that you've been exposed to. There's a lot of perception out there, but by itself, when we see things like, again, British Petroleum going, we're the new green company, our initial result tends to be something more along the lines of skepticism. We don't necessarily believe today that a certain laundry soap is going to get our shirts whiter. In fact, we tend to question the messages that we get from major brands as a first blush. If we have interaction and that interaction is positive, then that feeds back into a perception that's positive. So a great example of that are people that have used products like, oh, maybe Amazon. So Amazon, we all started out thinking, okay, this is a company that's going to sell books, but that was never their plan. Their plan was never to be great at books. Their plan was to be great at selling stuff. So people who bought books there early on had a good experience, one-click ordering, it arrived at their house, maybe most of them did, and now you can go on Amazon and buy a chainsaw or a pet or what have you. I think I got a friend that got an extreme pogo stick from her the other day. It's pretty cool, you should check it out. If we look at this pump, we also see that there is an entitlement, expectation, transparency, fulfillment thing going on. So this fulfilled with information means what you promised me, you gave me, and you let me participate in it as well. So if I can get on board and go back to Amazon and say, yo, my order didn't show up, and they say, well, we'll have it for you tomorrow, or we'll give it to you for free, or whatever the case might be, then we have this thing where we're being promised something, we're interacting and engaging with it, and even if it doesn't work right the first time, if we can eventually get there, we tend to have a positive brand impression. Remembering that brands, and I maybe should have defined this earlier, but brands, again, are kind of the gut feeling we have about a company or a product or anything else. It's a little bit ineffable, but it is. We all instantly have a reaction when we hear the names of certain brands. And that reaction is really fueled by this pump. The days of the CEO blog. Does anyone here read CEO blogs?